God, in our streets, in our schools, and in every home, Father. Restore marriages, restore families, God. Lord, restore churches, God, to what we once were and what we should be. Help us to preach your word. God, help us to lead like you've called us to lead, to be Jesus in this city. And Lord, I just thank you for your Holy Spirit's help, God, as we call out to you. And we thank you, God, that you have never left a people that came to you and cried out to you. You have never deserted them, and you have never left us without help. So, Father, today we close this prayer by saying, God, we expect confidently that you will show up in mighty ways all over this city and this area, in lives and hearts. You'll show up, God, and show yourself strong and redeem our lives, Lord, from this pit of destruction that we see all around us. And God, we thank you for your grace, your mercy, your forgiveness, and your help in time of need. God, guide these leaders. God, anoint our mayor and every person, God, on the city council that leads. Anoint them with a fresh anointing, a new mantle of leadership, a new hunger for you, God. Lord, in my own life, a new hunger for you. We ask it in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Clemens. Councilman Harrington.
Please follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, again, thanks to the both of you. Next item is reading and approval of the minutes of February 28, 2022.
Mayor, I make a motion that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of February 28th, and they be approved. There be no correction.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any additional comments or questions, council?
No.
Any public comments about this particular motion? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Next, we have a special guest, Ivory O'Neill. I believe is here. And I want to say, Timon Project, but it's
Timon.
Timon.
Yeah.
Timon Project. So he has a,
I think we have a presentation. We have a slide.
mhm.
How many of you heard of Timon, Louisiana? Timon, Louisiana. You have? You have? Timon, Louisiana is
And Mr. O'Neill, I'm sorry, we in the microphone, will you state your first and last name, please?
I'm sorry. My name is Ivory O'Neill. And guest with me is Dr. Megan Loaf from Northwest State University. She oversees all libraries at the university. How many of you have heard of Timon, Louisiana? Timon, Louisiana is a small city between Coshada and Powhatan. Timon, Louisiana was one of the largest cotton-producing plantations in Louisiana, and is also one of the major plantations that played a major role in Reconstruction. But before I get into that, I only have 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and let Dr. Morgan take over, and so she's going to tell you the reason why the Timon Project is so important here in Louisiana.
My name is Megan Lowe. I'm the director of NSU Libraries, recently hired. So I'm new to the area, so I will always defer to anybody else about where anything is located and how old it is. I'm here as a representative for the Kemi G. Henry Research Center. The late Mary Lynn Wernette began this project with Ivory, and I'm going to see it through in the wake of her passing. It is important to not just remember history, but also to restore it and preserve it. And everything that Ivory has told me has been in that vein. And so we're going to be helping him with the Timon Plantation Project. Whenever everything is gathered together, and I'm sure he will talk about all the things he's gathering together, the Kemi G. Henry Research Center will endeavor to preserve it and make it accessible to future generations. This is a legacy that we can't just talk about. We have to make it real, and we make it real through restoration and preservation, and that's what I'm here to facilitate. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. So Timon, Louisiana, the goals of this project, this overall project, is to restore the existing historical landmarkers. On the Timon Plantation right now, it's a cemetery located there with Civil War fighters there. We have World War I veterans there. We have World War II. We have slaves that are there, buried there. We haven't visited the plantation in the last 25 years, so now you can imagine what it looks like. It's on the back side of the plantation, which we're restoring it right now with the help of Jolly Nash. Jolly Nash owns the plantation now. The plantation was established by Benny Timon. Everybody heard of Benny Timon? Benny Timon, and then J.H. Williams. Anybody heard of J.H. Williams? J.H. Williams bought it from Benny Timon. And J.H. Williams established it as a plantation for sharecroppers, okay? And so that's one of the goals of this project. The next is to archive living testimonials and photos and documents. So what we're doing right now, we've located, I think, 7 individuals that grew up on the Timon plantation. Right now, we're archiving them. You'll see more information about that. We're recording, doing a video with them, and we're archiving different photos and their history. All this is being archived and been sent to the archiving department at Northwestern State University, and eventually we will gather all this information and we will make it public. We will make it accessible for the public. Okay. Anybody ever heard of the Mansfield Battle of Mansfield, Civil War? Okay, so that's a part of, some of the soldiers that were doing the Battle of Mansfield are actually buried out there on Timon Plantation. So it's a lot of history there. Y'all got a lot of history in here in Natchez. I'm from Louisiana, Shreveport, but when I came down here to start this project, I said, wow, this place is rich with history. Okay, next thing, receiving recognition as a historical site by the National Park Society. So right now, the National Park Society is working with us. Department of Transportation, they're working with us also, because what we're trying to get from them is a sign put up saying you're in Timon. So right now there's no sign. If you drive down Highway 1, you'll pass straight through Timon. You never knew you were there. Okay, so that's another goal we're trying to establish. Okay, Timon Plantation was one of the large, I said, cotton-producing plantations in Louisiana. Due to the Timon Plantation large landmass, it is recognized as a city. So Timon Plantation is so huge that it's actually recognized in Louisiana as a city. Okay, Timon is known by testimonials as a lost plantation in Louisiana. When I talk to those individuals that grew up on Timon Plantation, they called it the lost plantation in Louisiana, because nobody talk about Timon. Nobody remember Timon. I mean, the houses no longer there or anything. No, so we're trying to bring all that back, okay? Timon was an isolated, self-supporting plantation. Timon had its own store. Timon had its own medical facilities. Timon had their own doctors and their own nurses. Timon was a self-supporting city, because between Natchez, where you at right now, and Coshada was Timon. It was right in the middle. And in those days, it was hard to travel around doing Reconstruction, and because Civil War ended when? In 1865, right? And then between 1865 and 1877 was Reconstruction. Timon Plantation was established and built during the Reconstruction time period. So you can see what the population was like. People that used to be slaves were there, you know. So that's what we're dealing with. So I got a map. I'm trying to show you where it's located. So here's Coshada, right? Here's Natchez. Right in the middle is Timon, Louisiana. It's right on Highway 1. You'll know it once when we get the signs put up.
Sign on the railroad says Timon. There's a sign on the railroad says Timon.
Yeah, but we're trying to get an official landmarker. Sign on the railroad says Timon, but we're trying to get official landmarker through DOT, Department of Transportation. So, anybody know J.H. Williams? J.H. Williams, he was a resident here in Natchez. He owns the Timon Plantation. Not only did J.H. Williams own Natchez Plantation, he owned multiple land masses throughout Louisiana, okay? But the Timon Plantation was his main source. They had his own cotton gin, they had their own everything. They had their own stores. And everybody see this house? This house is his house. Anybody know where this house is located? Can't tell where it's located. Williams Avenue. you have a historical marker here in Natchez because J.H. Williams owned the Timon Plantation, all right? This house is located here in Natchez. So I'm a direct descendant of the slaves that were born on Timon Plantation. My great-great-grandmother, you know, in 1878, after Reconstruction, she was born out there on the plantation also, and they became sharecroppers. So they told a whole lot of stories. I used to visit that place because we used to go to church out there every third Sunday. Every third Sunday church. You go to church on every third Sunday. So we used to go visit there. Our church was still there. So we would drive from Shreveport to Timon when I was growing up, because that's how we used to go to church. And my family stayed on Timon Plantation, parts of my family all the way up to 1975. That's when they started to leave the plantation, because the plantation owners didn't no longer need sharecroppers because they had equipment, right? So people started migrating to Natchez, Coshada, and Shreveport, leaving the plantation. So the plantation died. See that slave house? That's how the houses used to look on the Timon Plantation. Anybody here the Hannah School? Hannah? Mm-hmm. All the students that grew up on a plantation had to go to this school. Anybody know about how we once started school before? Yes. That's the Hannah School. All the sharecroppers had to send their kids to the Hannah School. I'm almost done. I know I'm long. Okay. Okay, let me keep on going. And those three personnel, those are descendants that are still living out here. Right now, we're working with Jolly Nash in cleaning up the plantation. I'm going to go to the next slide. Oh, I'm sorry about that. What do we need from you all? The most important question. Recognize historical importance of the plantation and how it fits into the history of Natchez. Timon Plantation fits into your history. The people from Timon Plantation grew up here in Natchez. They left the plantation, they came here. So you all need to recognize that. Help establish a relationship between the council. So we want to be able to come back and brief you all photos on where we are with the project, all right? And the last thing we want from you all is to identify landmarkers throughout the Timon Plantation as historical landmarkers. I contacted DOD, and the reason why I'm here because you need to go to the council and talk to them about this. You need to go let them know what you're doing and get them on board. Once they're on board, the progress will be more easier for us, all right? We're not asking for any funding or anything. We just want you all to know that y'all got this jewel here in Natchez, and nobody knew about it, I don't think. So, and so those are some of the headstones that are out there at Timon Plantation. And that's the end of the presentation. We want to thank you for your time. We're excited about it. Our next project is we're going to clean up the cemetery. We work with the doctor here, and she's over the archiving, historic archiving for areas within Louisiana. All right, so she's very important, and y'all got her here, right here in y'all community. Thank you. That's all I have.
Right. City Council, you got any comments or questions?
Yeah, I would just want to say thank you for the presentation. You may want to get with Miss Rebecca, with Black and Baker, right. You may want to get with her. She may be able to assist you with your project.
Have you spoken with the parish council?
No, sir, I haven't spoken to the parish council. The DOD told me make an appointment to come to this council meeting.
City council.
That's why I called Mrs. Stacy McQuarrie.
Mm-hmm. It's the clerk.
So that's the reason why I worked with her to get here, and I thank y'all for your time. We're excited about it.
Thank you, my man.
Because we eventually want to have an LPV documentary produced.
Great.
Oh, that would be neat.
Yeah. But I know
Thank you,
Miss
sir.
Rebecca Blankenbaker, she would probably assist you with what you're doing. I know she will.
She helped tremendously with the no man's land in Manny and all that. So just a wealth of opportunity there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We can make
Cane
the
River
connection.
National Heritage.
I'll make the connection. All right, thank you again, Mr. O'Neill. Next, there is a proclamation. Councilwoman at-large Smith is going to read.
Thank you, Mayor. This is proclamation number 017, Resolution 017 of 2022, which is a proclamation declaring the month of March as Women's History Month in the city of Natchez. And it reads, whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways, and whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. And whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation, and whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement, and whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military, and whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which created an impartial and just society for all. And whereas, despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Ronnie Williams, Jr. of the City of Natchez, hereby proclaim that March is designated as Women's History Month in the City of Natchez, and I call on all citizens to observe this month and to invite all citizens to visit the www.womenshistorymonth.gov to learn more about the vital contribution of women to our nation's history. This proclamation is signed by Mayor Ronnie Williams, Jr., and we would like to present it to
Captain Johnson.
Captain Johnson. Is she here?
Yes,
Sorry,
she's back there.
here? Okay, Captain Johnson, would you come up, please?
And we're just grateful for women, all women, and what they mean, and just celebrate the women in your life. We do. We need to hear a motion.
Hold on again.
All right.
Mayor, I move for this resolution to be adopted. I second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All right, comments or questions? Seeing none, any public comments or questions? All right, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
All right, look, Councilwoman Washington, Eli, why don't you come as well and get in the picture here? We're going to be right here. And just remember the words of that poet, James Brown, it's a man's world, but it's nothing without a woman. All right.
And we want to present this to Officer Johnson today on behalf of Women's History Month.
All right, thank y'all so much. We appreciate them and all the other women in our lives who certainly played a part into where we are today and where we continue to be. All right, next item on the agenda is for introduction. It's ordinance number 13, Councilman Nielsen.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 13 of 2022, an ordinance declaring certain buildings unsafe and recommending that same be demolished or put into repair to comply with the building code, authorizing notice to be served, fixing hearing date, and appointing curator to represent absentees. Whereas the Director of Planning and Zoning and City Building Inspector have filed written reports with the city council declaring that the buildings listed below are in a dangerous and unsanitary condition, which makes them unsafe and endangering the public welfare, and recommending that said buildings be demolished or put in repair to comply with the building code. And that's Sterling Bank, Clayton Branch, 50 South Bemiston Avenue, Clayton, Missouri, 63105. And this is for introduction. It's been a long time coming, but the process begins.
Tell
Look.
where it is, tell where it is.
What's that, the lot and all that?
Oh, the Hopeville Apartments is,
Okay. Look, and I reserve most of my comments for when there's a vote before council. I do want to allow Chantrell to say what she, since this is her department. But I will say that I was hopeful about a year ago for Hopeville to be rehabbed, and unfortunately, it hasn't gone that way that we had hoped. As you look at Natchitoches now, Natchitoches is buzzing. There's a lot of interest, there's some vibrancy going on right now, and I'm only saying that because I know we need housing. If that's, if jobs are being created and such as that, you're going to need housing at all levels: affordable housing, workforce housing, housing on the high end. All right, and we're just hopeful that these will be rehabbed. And we've asked for updates and things of that nature. But I just want to go ahead and pass it as some pictures are being shown from the last meeting. Give Chantrell an opportunity just to, whatever comments you might have.
Well, as you know, let me just give you a preview of what we do when a condemnation process starts. So over a period of time, planning and zoning and our city inspectors will go throughout the city. With this particular structure, it's been on the agenda for quite some time. We'll send out notice to our different owners, property owners, letting them know that a property needs to be maintained, cleaned, or brought into compliance with city code. After a certain amount of time, which is normally 10 days, we'll initiate another step, letting them know that since we've already contacted you, we've let you know that your property still has not been brought to compliance with city ordinance. We'll then tell them that within the next 10 or 20 days, it will be recommended for condemnation. Once it's introduced here at City Council, then we'll have it finalized for condemnation ordinance. So right now, with this being introduced today, our final ordinance will be set for the 28th. So on that day, we'll give the city of Natchitoches and owners of this property to come forward with any comments or requests they may have. And that's the steps that we take with any condemnation for the city. Before a property is condemned, it has to be to the state of disrepair. Or if repair is going to be done, it's going to be within a costly project. So we don't just go around just condemning properties. It has to be to the point to where it can't be repaired or it's been burned beyond repair. So just to put it out there, any structure that we condemn, it has to be condemned, it has to be brought down. There is no saving it in any way.
And I noticed that particularly the last few lists that we've had of condemnations, not particularly referring to this one, but they were pretty much gone in bad shape beyond, like you're saying, repair. This is just for introduction. Council, you may have some comments, and then there may be some members of the public as well.
No, I just want to say, in all fairness, we have been more than fair and lenient with these people, and I think it's time, Mayor. Like you said, we were hoping that we could have some affordable housing, but it didn't come to fruition, so now it's time to just demolish.
All righty.
The city will be glad, the neighborhood will be glad.
Any other comments? Councilwoman Washington Eli, Councilman Harrington. I don't know if Councilman Nielsen, you have some other things. No. Okay. Good.
We're hopeful that when this is gone, something better bigger, better, whatever, can be there that's needed in the area.
Okay. All right. I think we do have some public comments. I see a couple hands. I don't know your name, sir. You can come to the microphone and say your first and last name. I do see Mr. Sias. I know his name. in the back. We'll let them come after you. And before you begin your remarks, state your first and last name, please.
My name is Evan Murphy. I live 322 2nd Street, Cap Alpha Order House. One thing I'd like to comment about the building itself, I mean, not only is it an eyesore, but I think there's a few things that are stemming from it that can be kind of problematic. I know in the winter months, October through December especially, there's a lot of car burglaries between 2nd Street and the streets adjacent and opposite of it. And I knew one night, it was typically late, as most car burglaries are, since they're a crime of opportunity. But it was between the hours of 1 and 2 typically. I caught a few people doing some suspicious stuff. Typically, they'd be parking at the condemned buildings because, I mean, it's sort of an easy access to multiple places around it. And we have since constructed a fence since a lot of car burglaries have taken place a couple years ago. But, you know, a fence is only as good as a person in front of it. And when you have somewhere so easy to get in and out of an area, it just makes the opportunity that much greater. And I feel like if you took that building away or revamped it, either had people living in it or it was torn down completely, you would limit the chances or odds of a crime happening. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. All right, Mr. Sias. And as with Mr. Murphy, Mr. Sias, state your first and last name.
My first name is Carl. My last name is Cias. And most folks say Sias. I'm here to talk about a few issues here, and we are well endowed. I appreciate the young man speaking on black heritage. He done a very good job and everything. Black people in this world have came a long way. We have a long way to continuously to work on ourselves to become better people and better service for our community. Where I live at, people are trying their hard out to do work on their houses, everything else, to get electric. And just the other day, a lady came to my house crying. I'm just going to share something with you all. At 1108 Lake Street, a lady came to my house crying. Donnie Blake is a certified electrician throughout Louisiana. He went to her house, done some work and everything. She said she talked to the lady in planning and zoning. She said she had to have an inspector. Normally, I would say with the house I live in, it was abandoned. They came out, the electrician, the city electrician came out, passed it and everything else. If anything needed to be done, I think I would have hired an electrician to come in and do this. Why do we have to have, and understand me clearly, why do we have to have electrician, plumbers, license and everything else, and on Texas Street, at 310 Texas Street, somebody's up there remodeling a whole building, tearing out everything. Where is the inspectors on that? Why is not a city permit put up on the wall?
Mayor, we wanted to reserve the comments to this particular item. Now, what the council could do is allow you time once we're complete.
Time? Okay, I understand that.
No,
Part of-
hold on one second.
This is
Hold on one
something
second.
Okay, go
Hold on one
ahead.
second. What the council could do later after we completed our agenda, if they decide to allow you extra time to speak, but right now we're speaking about this particular item.
This fall under the same thing, sir. I mean, when the lady over in Planet Zone talked about permit and the inspectors coming out and everything else, this fall under the same thing. I mean, this is what I'm saying.
Well,
So,
next-
I mean, if you want to talk about it in the end,
Yeah.
that's fine. I'll still be here.
Thank you. Any other public comments about ordinance number 13, which is being introduced today? Okay, again, it will be brought up before council on the 28th, our next meeting. All right, next item on the agenda is ordinance number 14, also for introduction, and that's Councilman Harrington.
Ordinance number 14 of 2022, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Natchez to award the bid for fiscal year 2021-2022 Phase 1 street rehabilitation. 5 bid proposals are received, and the committee members unanimously recommend the city award the bid to the lowest bidder, which is Williams Equipment Services, in the amount of $1,177,046.23. And this is for introduction only.
Okay. I think that next slide, Steve, the streets that were, just so people are aware, Sadia Street is in this round, St. Clair from Williams Avenue to East Fifth, Mayfield Street, Swanee, I say Swanee? Swanee Street, Amulet Street from Payne to Hedges, and then Breeda Avenue, and then Peninsula Drive. So those are the streets that will be rehabbed in this next round, which should start in the month of April. Okay, all right. Again, this is introduction. Any comments, council? Additional comments? No. Okay. Any public comments? Okay, public comments on this? Yes, sir. If you got some remarks about this particular item, you can come on again. State your first and last name.
Called CS, size also. Let me, I know that O.S. Johnson do most of the overlaying here in this town here. And I just wanted to ask the councilman, when they do the overlaying, what is the inches of thickness that they use on each street, or what they tell you how much it is? And anybody go out to take a tape measure to see how high this is? It's supposed to be 3 to 4 inches, and you're actually getting 2.5 inches overlaying on these streets, which is not going to last too long. So do you all know the code for the inches that you all are paying for as when he say, well, we're going to overlay this street, how many inches thick that this road going to be?
Our city engineer's not here, but I think, Donald, you can maybe shed some light given your experience there.
Yes, normally we have plans or typicals that we have to follow, and I think the engineer would come up with some plans that they'll give some guidelines, and most of the time, if you have just soil cement, you're about gonna have a 2-inch overlay on the city streets if you got soil cement base. And sometimes you might, on highways and heavy traveling highways, you might have a binder course, and you have 1.5 inches of wear, and 2-inch binder course and 1.5 inches of wear.
So with your remix that they are putting in neighborhoods and the traffic that you have, is compatible? What is the city paying for 2-inch compared to 4-inch? And saying that they're coming out and doing the street in your community, and the street only lasts for about 1.5 years, where to vehicles and everything else. And this is what I'm saying. I'm asking the question. I mean, do anybody know what I'm talking about?
Well, normally, I'm retired state inspector, and normally you would have to, I don't know if the city does it, but we normally take cores and we send it to get tested to make sure they have strength, resistance. So that's the normal routine we do with the state.
Well, the last street was pulled on, and I can share this with you because I went out there and measured after they got done. Not that I was being nosy, I was just concerned. The last street they pulled, year before last, they did a partial on Sanford Street. It wasn't near, after they packed it down and everything, it wasn't even near 2 inches. Let's try about 1.5 inches thickness, and how long that gonna last if you come back through there and look at these roads. These people are giving you all a price, then they come back and they say, well, we got this other thing here, and then the city paying, they finalize this, and they got this here, and you're paying more money, and you're getting less material out of these people that is running the sham on the city. So, I mean, next time they poll, just get up and somebody take a tape measure, or you can go out there and look for yourself and make sure that these roads are pouring to the spec that they're supposed to be pulled to.
I agree with you on some of what you're saying. That's something our engineer needs to be doing, checking to make sure that they are using the correct level of grading materials. I agree with you on that, but
They redone right down, I don't say this mail, and I'm finna sit down. They done right
council.
there on Lake Street in that, Amulet Street in that dip, say they were gonna get rid of the water and everything else, and when they got through pouring that, I don't know where the water came from, but it's more water on Amulet, right by Howard Street there, right in that little sway there, and it wasn't poured high enough. I mean, I don't know what type of engineer you all have, but, lean the water where all the gutters at on the side of the street, maybe the water fall all off in there.
we're going to try to do better as a council with contractors that we bid on.
Yeah, you just got to check behind
Thank
them.
you.
And I will say, there will be an inspector on the job to ensure that the specs are followed. But thank you, sir. And hopefully with council approval, our next round of streets we can use from, we were just told in January that we could use the American Rescue Plan money, a portion of it for street rehabilitation. So we look to come back pretty soon. That was certainly some welcome news. All right, another item for introduction is ordinance number 15. That's Councilwoman Washington Eli.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance numbers 15 of 2022. The ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Natchez to award the bid of the Christmas lights supply. Whereas the bid was advertised in the Natchez Time on January the 27th, February the 3rd, and February the 10th of 2022, in accordance with the law. And the bid was with Dean Ned Association LLC for $3,550. And this is for introduction only.
Okay, Matt, I mean, you've said this before, but do you just give us a little reminder as to why we do this?
Yeah, this is something we do this time of year. Every year, we just replenish our Christmas bulb supply from what we used the previous year. And we usually do it at the beginning of the year because it takes quite a while to get them in.
Okay, planning ahead. Any questions or comments, council?
I just want to say, hopefully not being disrespectful, but it was $34,050. I just
What I
want
said,
to make that. So people listening.
Thank you for
won't think
correcting.
Okay, thank you, I didn't even notice.
Which is lower than
It's lower
prior
than 30,
years.
right.
So
Okay, good, no, that's awesome.
LED's paying off.
It's $34,050.
I said 3,400.
35.
Okay,
I didn't-
so a different amount, yeah. All right, any public comments, other public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is ordinance number 16.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 16 of 2022, an ordinance amending Chapter 6 of the City of Natchez Code of Ordinances by adding Section 6-10, delegation of authority for non-commissioned animal control officers to issue misdemeanor or summons and/or notices, and 6-11, non-commissioned animal control officer enforcement for misdemeanor violations, and providing for an effective date, whereas ensuring the safety of residents, citizens, and/or visitors domiciled residing in or visiting the city of Natchez is of paramount importance, whereas ensuring police officers are not diverted from road patrol and enforcement of serious crimes by responding to misdemeanor animal control offenses, whereas providing non-commissioned animal control officers the authority to issue misdemeanor citations and notices for violations of Chapter 6 of the City of Natchez Code of Ordinances will increase law enforcement efficiency and provide for greater protection for the residents, citizens, and visitors of the City of Natchez, where it is the intent of the City of Natchez under the authority of the police power of the City of Natchez to create conditions favorable to the health, safety, and welfare of and for the residents, citizens, and visitors to the City of Natchez. Be it therefore resolved and ordained by the City Council of the City of Natchez that Chapter 6 of the City Code of Ordinances is hereby amended. And this is for introduction.
Thank you, Councilman Nielsen. Chief Collins, are there some additional comments for clarity on this?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'd just like to add, this is a request to add some, I guess, authority to our animal control officers that was not once granted in our Code of Ordinance. And it's duly in part to, there was a law passed in 2017, and it did not actually go into effect until January 1st of this year. Typically, all of our animal control officers would have to attend our Reserve Academy. They would put in 180 hours worth of training, post-certified training, and become reserve officers for our department. As of January 1st, no reserve officers can be certified in the city or in the state without attending a 17-week academy as the same as a full-time officer. As several of you realize, there's people in our community that want to help, and so they participate in the reserve program. I myself did it voluntarily, and it led me to pursue my career in law enforcement. We no longer have that asset and tool, so now we're at a point where we would have to actually pull officers instead of utilizing animal control officers who are not grandfathered. Those who were in that capacity prior to January 1st, they still have their commissions. Animal control supervisor Jonathan Mezier, along with Ronald Dillinger, who's an animal control officer, they are commissioned officers, so they can exercise all the authority of a police officer for the state and for the City of Natchez. But as we hire new animal control officers, they will not have that right or privilege. So therefore, we were seeking to have some code allowing them to enforce the minor misdemeanors so that our units could still patrol. As you all know, we have crime that takes place every day, and if we can keep those units patrolling and trying to deter crime, it helps us. The only time that we would be utilized or called out is in the case of a serious state offense, felony, or law requiring law enforcement be there.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments, Council? Right? Any public comments about this piece? Okay, seeing none, move on. We're moving on to the next, which is Ordinance 17, and that's Councilman Harrington.
This is ordinance 17 of 2022, an ordinance amending and restating ordinance number 12 of 2022 of the City of Natchez, Louisiana, approving that instrument titled Cooperative Endeavor Agreement between the City of Natchez and Natchez CFA LLC, which agreement provides for cost sharing for the installation of infrastructure, including traffic and drainage, which improvements will serve the proposed restaurant facility at the corner of East 5th Street and Highway 494, as well as provide for upgrades to the existing infrastructure and accommodate future development in the area, prescribing terms and conditions for said agreement, and authorizing the mayor of the City of Natchez, Ronnie Williams Jr., to execute same. This is regarding the Chick-fil-A. This is for introduction only.
Yeah, and Alex, help me out. I think, thank you, Councilman Harrington, I think the only real change is the name, where we called it Chick-fil-A Incorporated, and they're saying it is Natchez CFA LLC. Is that correct?
That's correct. This just amending, restating the ordinance that we passed last time. The developer, the name of his company is Natchez CFA, Chick-fil-A. So prior to entering into the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement, we wanted the record clear from the council perspective that we entered into agreement with Natchez CFA LLC, who's doing business on behalf of development for Chick-fil-A.
Yep. Thank you, sir, for that clarification. Any comments, questions based on that, council? Any public comments? Okay, seeing none. Next item is ordinance 18 number 18 being introduced. That's Councilwoman Washington Eli.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just for introduction, ordinance number 18 of 2022. The ordinance to designate the funds from the American Rescue Plan to the workers within the city of Natchez employed in the critical infrastructure sections and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. I guess you can explain a little bit more of this. I guess this be towards you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yeah, I can. And what this is, and thank you, Councilwoman Washington Eli. This is, of course, everybody knows the city, like all municipalities, got a share of what we call the American Rescue Plan money. Our share is a little bit over 6.4 million. We got the first half already. We should get the second half about August. And as I mentioned earlier, the final language was crafted, sent out in January. It'll take effect in April. I think this legislation says that. But there's this premium pay guidance that's given, and what it is this is one-time money. And so one of my, not only my goals, but I think the council want to see it as well, and certainly department heads like to see it also, because we talk about it, is especially with our lower wage employees to really make a long-term impact. Now, unfortunately, this piece of legislation, if it's passed next week, 2 weeks from today, will not be long-term because it's one-time money. It's not fiscally prudent or responsible to use one-time money for a continual bill, if you will, or a continual burden. So, but again, this will be paid out in April. We're targeting a date in April, and then 1 year from that April date to the employees of the city of Natchez, and just basically what the language says for essential work that employees provided during the pandemic. We're still in the pandemic, of course, but there were certainly employees of the city of Natchez who maintained services even in, in the midst. I mean, we know more about the coronavirus now, but at the beginning, what was it, March, I think I remember the date, March 13, 2020, when schools started to close and all that started to happen. People were buying toilet paper for some reason, which I still don't get, still don't understand. But anyhow, this is to say that we, appreciate the people who make services possible here in the city of Natchez. And this is something, as we're looking for a long-term answer to raising the pay, but this is just something to say, hey, we're grateful for the work that has been provided. Right? So I don't know if there are any comments or questions, council?
No.
Any public comments? Oh, no. Is she? She's going to the microphone. That is awesome.
Carolyn Roy, can you give me more details about who will get it and how much?
So this is essentially going to be all the employees. I sent the council a couple models. Now, this can be done different ways, but there's a model in South Carolina that I shared with the council that I preferred. And basically, public safety will get, in 2 payments, $3,000. Most of public safety employees, it's going to be your fire, your police, and then that next tier will be your full-time municipal at $2,000, but again, it's happening, a payment of $1,000 now, a payment of $1,000 next year, 2023, April 2023. And then you've got your part-timers, that'll be grand total of $1,500 now, $500 later. And then I think there's some other employees that.
What did you say about the part-time?
Part-time, grand total of $1,000 out of the American Rescue Plan money.
Total of 1,000?
Yeah, so split into 2 payments, $500 now, April 2022, and $500 April 2023. All right, and then we got some other employees that kind of fit in the category where they're not, they're just kind of on to their own, so there'll be an allocation for them as well. So, yep. Any other questions? All right, again, this will be put to a vote. before the city council at our next meeting. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is ordinance number 19. That's Councilman Nielsen.
Thank you, Mayor. You all get your Snicker bars out. This is a pretty long one. Ordinance number 19 of 2022, an ordinance authorizing the city of Natchez to enact an ordinance relative to the disposal of adjudicated property in accordance with Louisiana RS 47-2201, which deals with disposal of adjudicated property, whereas the city of Natchez, Louisiana is a political subdivision of the state of Louisiana, being a home rule charter municipality created pursuant to the Constitution and revised statutes of the state of Louisiana, and whereas the city of Natchez desires to establish a procedure for the sale and donation of adjudicated property pursuant to Louisiana RS 47-2201. Now therefore be it ordained by the city of Natchez and due legal and regular session convened that Article 9, disposal of adjudicated property, sections 2-127 through 2-140 of the city of Natchez Code of Ordinances are adopted to read as follows. Section 2-127, sale or donation of interest in adjudicated property. Upon authorization by the City Council of Natchez, the mayor or his or her designee is authorized to execute deeds for the sale of city's interest in property that has been adjudicated to the city, and the procedure for the sale provided in RS 47-2201 has been followed, including but not limited to giving notice to persons who have an interest in the property. Procedure for sales of tax title to adjudicated property, which is section 2-128. Any person interested in purchasing tax title to adjudicated property may apply to the mayor and/or his designee as follows. Submit an application containing the following: name of applicant, address, telephone number, and email, description of the property for which tax title is sought, legal description, and assessor's geographical number. Pay the estimated expenses of the sale, including but not limited to advertising and other costs associated with the sale. Upon authorization and the setting of a price and/or bid amount in accordance with RS 17-2201 by the city of Natchez, the mayor and his or her designee will notify the applicant and proceed as follows. 1, set the public sale for a specific date and time not less than 45 days from notice of the applicant, and 2, advertise the public sale twice in the official journal of the city of Natchez as follows. Once at least 30 days prior to the date of the public sale, and B, once no more than 7 days prior to the date of the public sale, and C, the advertisement shall provide for the minimum bid, the latest date and time that written bids will be accepted, the mandatory use of the prescribed adjudicated property bid form, the time and of in-person bidding, and any other terms of the sale.
Hey, Mr. Nielsen, if you would like, this is a long document.
Yeah.
If you want to just read each section title, section 2, 129, because we're going to advertise it so they can read all the details. This is maybe the longest legislative item we've had.
Section 2-129, application fee for the donation or sale of adjudicated property. Section 2-130, definitions. Section 2-131, agreement, adjudicated property not subject to an existing request for sale. And section 2-132, agreement, donation, adjudicated property not subject to an existing request for sale. Section 2-133, appraisal. Section 2-134, review. Section 2-135, application to acquire by donation. And Section 2-136, review. Section 2-137, agreement. Section 2-138, acquisition of full ownership by the city. Section 2-139, donation of full ownership by the city. And Section 2-140, sale of interest in adjudicated property to adjoining landowner. And that's about it.
That'll work, yeah.
So this is for introduction, and I'm sure half of the crowd is asleep.
Ms. Rock, can we rely on you for a synopsis of what this is really going to do for us?
So what this is going to do, the city right now, we have quite a bit of property that's been on our books for over 30 years. They're just sitting there, and they're not gaining, we're not using it for anything. The city's losing money on it because Public Works and the rest of us have to maintain the properties. And they're just sitting there. There's nothing we can do with them. Now, we came in contract with a company called Civic Source. We have used them, but they haven't really shown any effort or shown where they're reliable. So the city has taken it upon themselves to get rid of some of this property, put it back on the tax roll so that we can get it out there and get it to the people and let them maintain it and get it off our books away, get it from us so that we don't have to take care of it. During the summer months, all the properties that we get calls on is mostly city property. And when you have homeowners calling us about property that belongs to us, it's hard for us to say, hey, you need to take care of your property. So this, I think, will give us the leg we need to get those properties pushed out, get them maintained by the city, and we can find something else to do with that money instead of cutting property that's no use to us.
And I think this is also a way for the city can make some money also, hopefully. In reading it, I read it pretty thoroughly. It's along the same guidelines as what Civic Source was doing, and I don't think we were really
Right.
getting anything from Civic Source. And reading Section 2129, people buying this, it's like a bid. You bid, and you do have to pay that $300 application fee to apply to go. I don't know if y'all gonna do it if you're gonna do it online. I know with Civic Source you could go online and do it, so I don't know how we're planning to do that. Or if we come to like a setting here and do it and bid on it, I don't know.
I'm not sure how we're gonna do it, but, I mean, we're trying to put everything that we do online and make it accessible to people anyway, so I don't see how that wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Once we get everything up and running.
Yeah, and I agree, there's a lot of property, we can make some money, it's just sitting there, we're paying money, having the city keep them up.
And to
I
get
think
it
we
back
have
on the
over-
tax
roll, yeah.
is
I think
a-
we have over 50 properties that we have to maintain yearly.
How many?
Over 50.
Over 50.
Wow.
It's over 50.
Yep. Good. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Chantrell. Any additional public comments? Oh, we got to come. I'm sorry, sir. Can we get you to come to the microphone? Yeah.
Don't do this old lady, she's bad.
As far as appraisal,
And please state your first and last name.
My name is Charles McQueen, and I've been involved in some tax sale information and some stuff like that for investment purposes. Do we know what any of this property would be valued at?
Some of the properties.
Do we have any kind of appraisal on it, is all I was asking.
Yeah, the rules would provide the person or company who would like to purchase the property, you submitted that information to the city. We'll then get an appraised value of that property, and at that point.
Well, I want the city to get a fair break.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't want them to be shysted by characters like me. But the other thing is, I also think that, this stuff has been around for so long.
Right.
That the value of it may be called in question. And I'm just wondering, how hard it's gonna be for her to offload this stuff.
get a good price.
And it would be very interesting to me to see how, I there's a day for detail for this, and I want to follow up on it, but that was that's the basics of my question.
We
Thank you.
understand.
Thank you, Ms. McQueen. Ms. McQueen, thank you. Mr. Ciaz?
Call size or call CS. Yes, sir, because my grandpa was Cuban. I just want to say one thing. This is the city of Detroit. Y'all can, if you think I'm lying, look it up and everything else. I like y'all because y'all might want to buy some of this property. Because I bought some of it. They selling lots in Detroit for $100 a lot. And they are in the ones I got, in good community and everything else, and they have 3, 4, 5, 6 lots. And you are paying a lower price for them because of the city is losing revenue deeply without just holding on to them, cutting grass on them and everything else. Imagine how much money the city could make off 50 pieces of property in the city of Natchez, according to where they are and everything else. The fee for some people at $300 for an applicant, I think that's kind of how we're robbing the middle class people if they want to come out and say, I want to participate in this, but I got to pay $300 for an applicant, and if I don't get anything, is my $300 going to be reimbursed back to me? That was a chance I was taking like on the lottery.
Chance on the lottery, that's what it's.
Change on the lottery.
It's
I
just
think
like
if y'all
chance on
gonna
the
do,
lottery.
I think if y'all gonna do this here, I think it ought to be fair for some of the people who wants to come out and bid on property in their community and have a fair share of this would be, who needs to make the $300 if you're selling the property? I mean, it's just a gimmick, being fair with people. Y'all can keep the property, y'all ain't doing anything with it, but if you can dispose it to somebody else and let somebody else pay the taxes on it, you getting revenue off the taxes, but when you're talking about a $300 fee to even get started on this here, I mean, that's just a waste there. I mean, you might not look at it as a waste, but that's kind of steep there. If you would say $75, boom, they would jump for it. If you lose $75, that's nothing but to lose $300 and don't get one piece of property. Hey, that ain't too cool, there, baby.
Well, you lose the same amount if you go to a casino and you don't
Yeah,
win.
but, okay.
It's about the same thing you're looking at.
Yeah.
If you're gonna buy, you know you wanna buy, you save your $300 up. It's like you do with anything else.
Well, let's say
But we're not gonna argue about it, Mr.
Okay.
Yeah, let Alex, please.
Yeah, the procedures allow for the person who want to purchase the property, pays the $300 to initiate the process, which pays for the advertisement of the sale. Some of that money goes to the appraiser, so you come back with an appraised value. And once it's placed for a bid, if that person who initiated the process, who paid the $300, does not win that property, whoever wins that property, he'll still be reimbursed for the money that they put up. So that person will get receive that money back.
The person that don't.
Yeah,
Don't win the
yes,
bid.
right.
Well, I mean, that's more logical than just saying that man lose $300. I mean,
Right.
I mean, that's kind of hard. But I understand. But be honest with you, y'all got a lot of property around this town here. The city could be making a lot of money off of it, and it just setting up and nobody doing anything with it. So hey, take it off your burden. Go ahead and put it out there, and let people bid on it and everything else.
And Ms. Sykes, that was the purpose behind this legislation. Like you said, in a lot of cities, Detroit and across Louisiana, most have adjudicated property process. But we tried the civic source route, and as watching it didn't work. So we wanted to give them two routes. We still have civic source where a person can purchase the property and actually purchase it with a good deed, right? Or you can take the adjudicated process, which we just created, and you can buy it adjudicated and get ownership that way, but you have to clear a title on your own.
You got to do clear title on your own.
On adjudicated property process.
Right, on duplicated property. Okay, then. All right.
Thank you, Mrs. Science.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sias.
Sias.
Okay, all right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is ordinance number 20 being introduced. That's Councilwoman at Large Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 020 of 2022 is an ordinance of the City of Natchez, Louisiana, approving that instrument titled Cooperative Endeavor Agreement between the City of Natchez and the Industrial Development Board of the City of Natchez, which agreement provides for the assignment of lease payments received by the City of Natchez from the United States Parks Department for the purposes of securing and paying revenue bonds to be issued by the Industrial Development Board of the City of Natchez, prescribing terms and conditions for said agreement, and authorizing the mayor to execute same. And whereas the city has authority to enter into the agreement under the general law and the home rule charter of the city as evidenced by its governmental purposes of expanding employment and the economy in the city, and whereas the city council of the city, acting as the governing authority of the city, is of the opinion that the agreement will promote tourism and expand employment and the economy in the city and parish of Natchez, and provide for the renovation of an existing city property. This is pretty lengthy. I'm trying to get through this. Bid further ordained that if any provision of this ordinance or the application thereof is held invalid, such invalidity shall not affect other provisions. Bid further ordained that all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith be repealed. And this is for introduction only, and I know who would elaborate on this. You, Mayor, would you elaborate on this?
Well, I'll just say a little bit about it, and
IDB.
this is this is going through the Industrial Development Board, which is one of our, board commissions that we use, particularly to, finance a project. And so this is helping us to finance, pay for the, what do we call that, Randy? The artifacts, the Eagle Building, and then also the depot project.
They
you started.
refer to it as a tutorial facility. That's the conversion of the Eagle Building.
Okay.
On 6th Street. 6th Street.
Yeah, that's the one we toured, and then, of course, the depot is tied into this deal, into this,
For the museum and.
yeah, for the completion of the museum, which project has already started. Are there any comments or questions, council? Any additional besides what's been made?
And Mayor, you want me to add?
Yes, sir.
The legislation is necessary to facilitate the financing to rehabbing the building. So the city is currently receiving a lease payment, I think around $130,000. So we're gonna use that 130 to secure the debt that will be issued through the IDB board. So this is like the initial step for us getting the CEA with the board. The IDB board should meet between now and March 22nd. Correct. And once they approve the resolution to move forward with the financial transaction, the city will then bind themselves this $130,000 to secure that debt.
Okay.
All that you just said I was gonna say, but you beat me to it. All right, any public comments or questions? All right, I think there are some pictures, Steve, that we have just the early stages of remodel. I think we had some. Did we? We didn't? Okay. All right. No, we didn't. Okay, but we'll be posting some pictures about that. All right, thanks, Alex, for that explanation. Next item on the agenda, we will actually hear a motion to amend the agenda.
Mayor, I make a motion to amend the agenda to add ordinance number 021.
A second.
All right. Any questions about this before we vote, council? Any public comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
All right, thanks, Council, for amending the agenda. And now, Councilman Nielsen, this ordinance up for introduction is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 21 of 2022, an ordinance accepting and approving the power supply agreement for sale of power and energy between Clico Power LLC and the City of Natchez, Louisiana, and authorizing the mayor to execute the power supply agreement, excuse me, on behalf of the city. And I'm not going to get into this. I'll defer to Matt.
Yeah, this is, we sent out an RFP for our next power supply contract that will commence January 1st, 2023. We started this process back in October to develop the RFP, and we sent the RFP out to 6 potential providers and received 4 proposals back. We enlisted the services of Betts and Holtz. Kirk Betts has worked with the city of Natchez and many other cities in the area for at least 25 years, I know, with the city of Natchez. And he specializes in power contracts. He's an attorney that we use to go over the proposals with us, help us decide which proposal is the most beneficial for the city of Natchez, and then he gives us his recommendation.
Okay. There's in January, the benefit to the residents we talked about?
Yes, Clico, when they gave us their proposal, they actually lowered 2 of the items on their proposal that we used to calculate the bill. So we will, starting January 1st, 2023, when the new contract takes effect, our citizens will see a savings on their utility bills.
And that's certainly good news. I know it's not for a few months, but that's good news, especially given the rising costs of a lot of products.
Right.
So this seems to be good for the city.
Yeah, in this day and time with the how volatile fuel is, natural gas, coal, it's good to see this contract go. We had 4 good proposals. They were all very close, which kind of shows us how tight the industry is right now. But yeah, I think it'll be good for the city.
Okay. Council, you got any questions or comments? Any public comments? Okay. All right. This is just for introduction. Next item on the agenda is resolution number 18, and that's Councilman Harrington.
This is resolution number 18 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids for caustic soda for the water treatment plant. Kind of speaks for itself. That's, I move to adopt resolution number 18 of 2022.
Second.
Council, you need any explanation from Matt? Oh, it's good. Unless, Matt, you want to say something. Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Okay. All right. So any public comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote. It's kind of our routine thing. Sorry.
I second.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Next is Resolution 19. That's Councilwoman at-large Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 19 of 2022. This is a resolution appointing Kamal Deep to fill the unexpired term of Wayne McCullen as a member of the Board of Directors of the Industrial Development Board, IDB, of the City of Natchez, Louisiana. Whereas the City of Natchez, in its endeavors to promote and attract industry, organized the Industrial Development Board of the City of Natchez. Whereas the Natchez City Council affirmed the appointment of the members of the Board of Directors of the IDB by resolution number 16-016 of 2012, adopted on April 23, 2012, and fixed the terms of the directors of the IDB by resolution 063 of 2014. And whereas due to Wayne McCullen's resignation from the IDB, there exists a vacancy on such a board, and whereas the Natchez City Council wishes to appoint Camel Deep as a member of the Board of Directors of the Industrial Development Board, and whereas this term is to expire on April 23rd, 2024, now therefore be resolved that the City Council of the City of Natchez thus in legal session convened hereby appoint Camel Deep to fill the unexpired term of Wayne McCullen as a member of the Board of Directors of IDB of the City of Natchez for the remainder of the term ending April 23rd, 2024. And I so move for adoption of Resolution 019 of 2022.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. We do have Kamal. He's here with his lovely wife, and I just have a few things from Kamal's resume that I'd like to share publicly that I shared with council already. Kamal has 30 years of manufacturing experience with background in advising diversified industries. If you were to read his resume, you can see that he has held different roles in manufacturing. So his manufacturing experience is extensive. He currently and has been with Alliance Compressors, which is a major industry here in our city. He's been with Alliance Compressors for 15 years, and again, different roles, different capacities, kind of worked his way up. And so we're just excited. Kamal and I met a few months back, and really appreciate him being here in this community. Certainly his talent, he could be anywhere, he and his family, but we're grateful that they raise their kids here, and they're both contributing, he and his wife are contributing to this community. So Kamal, I don't know, do you have anything you want to say? If you do, please come forward, state your first and last name, sir, and say whatever it is you want. And I think it's fitting that Kamal is being appointed on the same agenda that we have an IDB on the agenda in terms of financing the depot and that whole project. So go ahead, Kamal.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Kamal Deep. I work for Alliance Compressors for the last 15 years. I moved to the city of Natchez in 2001. My beautiful wife is here. Since then, we've lived here and raised 2 children over here. As Mayor introduced me and said, I have 30 years of manufacturing experience. I worked in various industries in different countries. The thing about factories and the manufacturing facilities, no matter where you go, you'll see products, materials, and all different shapes and kinds of equipment, various environments, various technology. What I have experienced is one thing is common everywhere, and that's the most important one: people. People are the common element anywhere you go, and I believe those are the people are the most important and valuable asset for any organization. That's my belief, and that's what I think. For any city and any country to progress, that same mindset of thinking that people are the asset, I've used in my career. Going forward, taking this responsibility with gratitude, I will use the same principles of thinking, putting the people first and serving our great city and the surrounding areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamal, and you're joining a great team: Gary W., Francis Code9, Claude Benjamin, and Glenn Moffitt. And there will be a vote soon here, right, with this depot project. So, all right, thank you, sir. Any comments or questions, council?
Mayor, I'd just like to thank you for appointing Kamal, and he's somebody, as you know, I respect a whole lot, and he has been wanting to get more involved in the community. And Kamal, thank you for accepting. You're going to do awesome.
Yep. Again, I appreciate you accepting. Any public comments or questions for Mr. Deep?
I just wanted to say we're lucky to have you on the board, and the city of Natchez is lucky to have you here as well.
Okay. I don't think there are any public comments. All right, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
All right, That motion carries. Kamal, you're going to do great. Okay, next item is resolution number 20. That's Councilman Nielsen.
Whoop, let me catch up.
You got it.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 20 of 2022, a resolution appointing Ronnie Williams Jr., Mayor, to perform on behalf of the city of Natchez and has the authority to make those acts and assume any and all duties in dealing with the award with Delta Regional Authority for the fiscal year 2021 Federal Award Program cycle. Move to adopt resolution number 20 of 2022.
A second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. This is something that I'm excited about. One of the things that I've shared with council and expressed to others is that, especially given the posture of the federal government now, the American Rescue Plan, many of those programs are turned into grant programs. Even the infrastructure plan that it's been approved, passed both houses of Congress and signed by the president, but they're still they haven't revealed yet how they're gonna program it out. So, but I think the Delta Regional Authority they're gonna get, it's over $1 billion. And that's significantly more than what they usually operate on. And this is really great. As we were working with the ComCare deal, community care, you see on 494 here, y'all see the construction going on. That's a new community care facility. And Matt, also one of our engineers, was thinking, hey, this is an opportunity to apply for this grant. Delta Regional Authority is really big on economic impact, and so there's major economic impact here, given that in addition to those jobs that are going to be saved, I don't remember the exact number, Matt, but I know 40 additional jobs created on top of what they're retaining. So they're going to be looking for 40 additional people when that facility, and I tell you folks, it's going to be a state-of-the-art facility. Some say nursing home, but they more see themselves as a skilled care facility where people can come for a time to maybe get rehabilitated. You know, folks who had strokes or whatever can go and get those life skills and then be released back into their normal activity. So this is great, and we're going to seek more. There are a lot of dollars, and I just believe, I heard Harrington say this and others as well, that, we get no dollars that we don't go for. So we at least got to have our name in the hat. I think yours, Harrington, is somebody's going to get it, right? Somebody's going to apply for that money. And so it should be the city of Natchitoches. And this is, again, just a great surprise. I was eating lunch down in Baton Rouge, and they said, Natchitoches. I said, what? Nobody told us that. But great work. Matt, you got any other comments?
I think this is a great opportunity for the city. That's a lift station's going to be rehabbed, one that's badly needed. And we're going to get $400,000 while putting up $65,000. So it's not a bad deal.
And Matt, explain to them without too much detail why lift stations are really important.
Okay, lift stations, the reason they're called...
And here's something here that was in a local publication, but I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Right. Lift stations are pump stations. We call them lift stations because they lift the liquid up from a lower elevation to a higher elevation. So we all know sewer is all gravity. It all runs downhill. Well, when it gets to the bottom of the hill, it has to be pumped up to the next hill. So we call it a lift station because it lifts the sewer up from one elevation to another.
And it's economic development. As Kaiser is growing, and as we want to see other sectors, South Drive, we're going to hopefully hear some things about South Drive today, and even Texas Street. But as you have more people, you have more restaurants opening.
Right.
You're going to need this type of equipment.
When it's redone, it will be enlarged with larger pumps, a larger wet well. So we're going to not only rehab it because it's aging, but also increase the capacity of it.
And so here very soon, a few of us are going to go to their inaugural, DRA's inaugural conference in New Orleans, and hopefully learn how we can get more of those dollars here to benefit Natchitoches, and do some of those infrastructure projects that we need. So again, this is great news. I'm excited about it. All right, any public comments or questions about this? And thank you, Matt, for that really, really good explanation, all right, of a lift station. All right, seeing there are no other public comments or questions, Stacy, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
All right, awesome, that motion carries. Next item is Resolution 21. Oh, that's Councilman Harrington.
Resolution number 21 of 2022, a resolution declaring the intention of the city of Natchez, state of Louisiana, to issue utilities revenue bonds in one or more series in an amount not to exceed $935,000 for the purpose of paying a portion of the cost of constructing and acquiring additions, extensions, and improvements to the wastewater collection, treatment, and disposal system of the city, making application to the Louisiana State Bond Commission, and providing other matters in connection therewith. This is, I move to adopt Resolution 21 of 2022.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. This is a good deal for the city as well. Matt, will you give some explanation as to why this is so?
Yeah, this is a project we're going to, this is 2 more lift stations. We're going to rehab them, Mill Street and Washington Street. Those are some older lift stations also, probably built around the same time as Kaiser. This is with the revolving loan fund, so $312,000 of this $935 will be forgiven. So we do not have to pay that whole amount back. And that $935,000 will rehab those 2 lift stations.
Great.
I'm sorry, say that.
Mill
Mill
Street
Street.
lift station and
And
Washington
Washington.
Street lift station.
So just to be clear, we're getting $900,000 worth of work for basically $600,000.
Correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
That's awesome.
And more importantly, Mayor, remember the money that we have to repay is 0.95%, which is almost, it's not.
Very
Almost-
low,
it's
very
almost-
low.
Yeah.
Yeah, dollar for dollar, yeah. Awesome. No, hey, look, y'all, this is exciting stuff. I'm excited about it. Okay? Any public comments or questions? And I know this is sewer stuff, it's not that sexy, but sewer is needed. I mean, it's needed. I mean, you got a growing city, you got a growing town, this is a part of the infrastructure that we need. All right, seeing that there are no public comments either, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, council, that motion carries. Next item is Councilwoman Washington Eli, Resolution 22.
Just a second.
You're welcome.
Resolution number 022 of 2022, the resolution authorizing Rhineways Union to hire Corthen Graft of Smoke Oak, A&AC, for the Application Association for the grant submitting for the funding to the Love Louisiana Outdoor Grant Program. And I move to adopt resolution number 022 of 2022.
Second.
All right, motion been made and seconded, council. This is a program, I think, in response to the coronavirus. The state, maybe through their federal appropriations, said, hey, we're going to allow these cities to apply for this money to create some outdoor spaces or improve outdoor spaces, again, given the onset of the coronavirus. First round, unfortunately, we were not successful, but there were a number of changes. Randy, I don't know if you've got a comment to make, but there were a number of changes that suggested that we needed to make, and we're going to make those changes. I think our chances will be improved.
We're getting $400,000 under the grant. I heard it with my own ears while we're all on the phone, so it's just going through the formality.
Yep.
And this is for Richardson Park, right? Correct?
Yep.
You might need to make that
Yeah.
nice for Richardson Park, improvements.
Be a
Right.
nice upgrade.
Nice upgrade, right?
So look, we're applying for it. We're trying to get it. I don't think this is a match, is it, Randy?
We're going to do the engineering portion of it. That would be our match.
Okay. All right. And things like, I know you can't do the basketball court with that, so we're going to have to do that out of city dollars. But what are some other things? Just remind us.
Walking track, 2 different hard surface parking areas, rehab the existing bathroom, and going to build a 16 by 24 pavilion, add new barbecue pits, and a number of other amenities that are trash cans, that type stuff.
Okay. All right. Again, thanks. I think we're going to be successful this next time. All right.
Yeah, I have a question, Mayor.
So is that a question?
Yes. If they was able to get a basketball court, how much would they be? What's the cost?
I think that's budgeted 50.
Yeah, we're using the number 50,000. The cost takeoff was 48.6 and change, but when the mayor asked me what to budget for out of the general fund to do the basketball court on our own, we used $50,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's not too bad. All right. Any other public, any public comments or questions? All right. And hopefully very soon, improvements to Richardson Park will be realized. All right. Seeing nothing else, roll call vote.
Eli?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Harrington?
Yes.
All right. That motion carries. Last item on the agenda. And the saying proverbially is we save the best for last. Let's see. Maybe we got some news today. I don't know. But this is resolution number 23, and that's Councilman Harrington.
Resolution number 23 of 2022. This is a resolution providing notice of intention to levy and collect a 1% sales and use tax upon the sale at retail, the use, the lease or rental, the consumption and storage for use or consumption of tangible personal property, and on sales of services in the district commencing on January 1st, 2023, within the boundaries of River South Commons Economic Development District, State of Louisiana, in accordance with and authorized by Part 2, Chapter 27 of Title 33 of the Louisiana Revised Statutes of 1950 as amended, authorizing the publication of a notice of intention to levy and collect such sales and use tax, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. I'll read this by title only. This has been before us a few times. I move to adopt Resolution 23 of 2023.
Second.
All right. Motion has been made and seconded. I don't know if that's need, Mr. Busada, and I'm sorry, give me your name again, sir. Wingo. Mr. Jeff. John. Mr. John Wingo.
Jay.
Do y'all have any comment on this?
Not unless you have any questions.
Okay.
We announced last time, I think,
Mr. Wingo, can we get you to come to the microphone? State your first and last name. I think you're about to say something here, sir.
John Wingo. I didn't come to speak tonight, so I didn't bring a speech. But anyway, I think we announced last time that we have signed the lease with Big Lots. So Big Lots is coming to town, and we should be through with the demolition by the, knock on wood, hopefully by the end of the week. So we will be prepping to turn the building over to them pretty soon. We are in negotiations with 2 other major retailers, which Jeff told me I'm not at liberty to say who they are. But as I told everybody that asked me, I just say go stand in the parking lot. But you can find out there. But those leases are coming along well. We're pretty close on those. So we think they're going to be excellent for the city. So we're excited about it.
Questions or comments, council, for Mr. Wingo? Public comments or questions, besides asking them what's coming?
Social
They're not
media
telling.
is hopefully,
Social
yeah, really. Yeah, I just say that whatever you hear, just start the rumor.
What's that?
I said, whatever you hear, just push the rumor.
At least we know there's 2. So
There
that's
is
great.
2 in talks, that's right.
Okay, great. Well, look, we're excited about it. All right. So seeing there are no additional questions or comments, Roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries also. Few announcements. Our next meeting is going to be the 28th of March, 2 weeks as per our custom. And also on tomorrow, there's a town hall meeting, if you will, or, yeah, so I'll be there 6:30 to 7:30 at East Natchitoches Elementary School. So again, we're talking about infrastructure, strategy for grants, or some grants that we're going after. Crime has been one of the topics people want to talk about, so we certainly want to address that. Pub crawl this Saturday, March 19th, in the historic downtown Natchez from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. That has been growing every year, so if you haven't gone, make arrangements to go this year. And then the 5th annual Cane River Film Festival is also something I think that's great in Natchez that I really want more of our residents and even visitors to get behind and support. And so that's going to be from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. in historic downtown Natchez. Kelly Jackson does an awesome job with it. But as a community, you know, we need to support what she's trying to do in her effort. Go Natchez app, download that. Regroup, that's for emergency notifications. Download that as well. I think that's it. Oh, the other thing we want to just remind you about is that there is utility and rent assistance. That there's a number that you can call. There's even a URL that residents. So we've been trying to push it out on Facebook. I talked to Councilman Harrington. I think he's pointed some people to this resource for utilities help and for rental assistance. So there's actual dollars. I called the number, and so there are actual dollars. There's a process to go through, but it can help our residents who need that. And so we just want to make sure that people know about these particular programs that are already in existence, okay? Okay. All right. I think that's all of the announcements. There was, per City Attorney Alex Washington, Mr. Carl Sias, or Cias, want to allow him an opportunity to finish talking about the topic that he was.
I guess y'all want to hear my name again, huh? Carl Sias, or Carl CS. My thing is that anybody are doing new construction or remodeling should, nobody is above the law to go in and do construction on a building without the city approval or a permit. And I don't think it's fair to people who pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to do jobs here, and you got some people that's underneath the table that are doing things illegally on Texas Street, the old washateria. I don't know if y'all familiar with it or whoever in charge of it. I think it needs to be shut down. I think it needs to be shut down until somebody come up and identify themselves who or what this plan or what this gonna be. They up there working 7 days, 5 days, 6 days a week. No permit on the wall. That's unheard of. So can somebody say something on that particular issue? Do anybody know anything that what's going on with that building up there and somebody up there doing a bunch of work and the city not getting the revenue off of the permit?
I don't know exactly which building, but I know you referenced a Lake Street address earlier, and we've been in talks. Chantrell and I have talked about that particular residence, and I think we'll come to, you know, a resolution on that one. So I don't know what building you're
Okay,
talking
but I'm talking about the one on Texas Street, 310 Texas Street, the old washateria. somebody is up there, is working inside that building. They even put a dumpster behind the building where the old appliance place used to be at. And maybe some of you all need to go up there and find out what is going on. But right now, I'm asking the council to shut it down, because anybody gonna open up a business up there, or if Big Lot come into town and that building costs $200,000 to do a remodel, surely they got a permit on the wall. Or if any other place over on the east side of town, Harbor Freight come here, they're gonna have a permit and everything else. Whoever comes here and get a job or get a business here to open up any type of structure, building or business, should come through planning and zoning and through the city. Now, my question is, and I ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I ain't the stupidest one in the drawer either. Now, somebody is up there working on Texas Street, and nobody know who doing the work up there? Have anybody taken out a permit or anything?
Mr. Saez.
Yes.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ms. Johnson.
No, I was just gonna say, Ms. Sires, thank you for putting us on notice, and I know Chantrell and I will take a look into it, because sometimes things do happen. People don't go the right process.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Well,
I mean, I don't know what y'all protocols is, or let them do it, then come down and get a permit or whatever. Somebody's name should be up on the piece of paper up on the building, if anybody else.
but these things do happen sometimes, and I appreciate you for actually telling us, and we'll get to it.
Yeah, well,
But
I appreciate that.
Go ahead,
Mayor.
Chantrell.
They are in compliance with everything that they're doing on Texas Street.
Well, if they-
Everyone
if
that
compliance,
comes,
where's the permit?
they don't require a permit for what they're doing.
Hold on, excuse me, time out. If they doing restriction up on that building, they done took out all of the old wash machine that dries.
That doesn't require a permit.
It got to be.
That does not
rewired.
require a permit, sir.
No, ma'am, this building got to be rewired and everything else, so.
When it's
you telling
time,
me-
sir.
Sir, say what?
When it's time for them to do
No, it
rewiring,
should
they
have been
will
time
require a
before.
permit.
Y'all might do things different, but it's unfair to people who have spent money and everything else. So who is actually running this building?
Mr. Sires, what address is that?
It's actually 312 Texas
well,
Street, not
312.
210.
Okay, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a look, and I thank you, Ms. Sires, for bringing it.
I mean, I'm just talking about fairness between all people. If you're doing demolition on that building, then you don't come up and tell me they going through protocols when everybody else got to have a permit and everything else on the side of the piece on the wall.
Right.
Come on now.
No, thank you, sir, I appreciate it.
Yeah, okay.
All right, okay, at this time, council, hear a motion to adjourn?
Move.
All right, all in
Second.
favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks.